So we're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals, but I will tell you that that's not what I'm going to be discussing today. The people that asked me to speak to you guys are probably going to be disappointed about that, but that's not what I do. I break the rules. I bend the rules a little bit. So we're going to talk about the boring fundamentals for just a second, but the biggest thing I want to talk about is honesty. Like when you're filling out an application and a resume, if you're not honest in that, like you might as well have not filled it out, because they're going to find out that you're lying. They're going to find out that you're not telling the truth. So the biggest thing with your applications, the biggest thing with your resume, make sure that what you're actually giving as information is accurate. I've heard stories with some of my friends that have had people apply for positions in their company saying they had a bachelor's degree, saying they had this, saying they had this experience, never worked at the company they claimed they worked at, never got the degree, never even went to college. Okay, so there's no reason to lie. Like if you're going for a job that typically requires a bachelor's degree and you don't have one or whatever, just come out, be honest about it. You got a better chance doing that than to lie and say you've got it. It's pretty simple. Dressing the part. This is something that I really think people overlook because it's been said, like, always dress to impress, but it's important to know the culture of the company. Don't show up in a suit and tie if the CEO and the person hiring you is wearing a t-shirt and shorts, right? Know that about the company, find that out through your research, and then make sure that you're dressing appropriately for the position you're applying for. You'll hear me kind of break that rule in a second as I go through my story, but again, you still don't, if there's a CEO, if there's a hiring manager, if there's somebody, don't dress better than they do and expect to show up and get the job, okay? So that's not gonna work out too well. So again, that kind of goes back to researching the company, making sure that you understand things about the company. When you come to the interview, you wanna be prepared, right, for what, you want to be prepared with questions for them as well, because it's not just a one-way street. They're not just interviewing you to find out if you're a good fit for them. You need to be interviewing them to make sure they're a good fit for you. The worst thing to happen is go all in with a company and you get there and you realize that this isn't a good fit for you. And now you got to pack up your bags and go somewhere else because it's going to make you happier. Okay, so research the company, and if possible, research the person doing the interview or the person making the hiring decision. If you know something about that person, it can make a little bit better a conversation. And if at the very least, the more you know about that person, the more comfortable you'll be talking to that person, okay? It's almost like developing rapport before you meet, okay? So if you can research the person, research the company, definitely do so. How do you do that? Listen, we live in a day and age where social media is very easy for us to, go and find out enough information about the company and enough information about the people. Speaking of that, when you're going to do applications, resumes, and preparing all that, one of the reasons why I'm not discussing too much of that today is because all that information is available on Google. If you want to know how to properly prepare a resume, applications, or even prepare for an interview, like that information, there's YouTube videos all day long about that. And I love that we live in a day and age where you can get all that information within a matter of seconds. So we're gonna talk about some stuff that's not as easily available. We'll get to that in a second. Social media. So if you guys are looking for a particular job and you're trying to put your feelers out there, there's no better place than social media. You can reach more people in a shorter amount of time than ever before through social media. You guys probably already know that. LinkedIn is the professional social media platform, right? And LinkedIn, unlike years ago, has become a lot better. You can reach more people quicker now than you could a year ago, 2 years ago. So LinkedIn's actually a really good platform. It was kind of like really dormant for a while there. It really wasn't developing a whole lot of opportunities, but now recently you can reach a lot more people more organically than ever before. Obviously, Facebook's a good opportunity because, again, if you guys are looking for something specific, don't be afraid to send a post out and just say, hey, listen, if you guys know of any opportunities, I'm currently seeking a position doing this. I want to contribute in this way, help in this way. And people will remember that and keep their eyes out as well. It's definitely not going to hurt. And then YouTube. So what I've seen trending right now, it's really, really cool, is people doing resumes, right? Like putting resumes out there, sending them out, but putting video resumes together, right? This is kind of like doing an audition video. Like people are sending audition videos into Shark Tank and like different places like this. Why not put an audition video together for yourself and put it out there? Now, if you have a quick conversation with somebody and they're like, hey, I'd love to know more about you, but you don't have, it was really difficult to set up an interview, or now you can't get past the gatekeeper, you can send them your YouTube link directly to them. It's a lot easier and quicker for them to pop that video open and listen than to open a form, go through the processes, like all that. So it's a really quick and easy way to get you, your skills, and your talents in front of that person. So really, really good way to go. Remember though, Your prospective employer can find you on social media too. So if you're looking for a job doing something specific, don't have your Facebook profile public and showing you at the club at 2 a.m. in the morning the night before. Now I laugh, but I had to have a conversation with one of my team members because he wanted to have a following posting like really funny but maybe not so appropriate memes and things like that on Facebook. So I had to have a conversation with him. I'm like, look, you have to remember that you're representing our company as well. If you want to create another page, do all that on your own time, fine. Make sure that you represent our company professionally. So you don't want to lose the opportunity of getting the job off of a dumb post or a political post or a religious post. Like some of those things are really important to know and keep private to you and your group of friends, okay? Relationships, I will promise you, relationships can get you more opportunities in your life than anything else can. I know that you guys are working really hard on an education right now. That's very, very important. But the power of relationships cannot be overlooked, okay? There's a quote that actually you'll see in a second from Chaz Wilson that says, you are only one relationship away from changing your future, okay? And I can tell you that I have hired more people through previous relationships in my life or by recommendations from people that I really trusted and cared about more than I've ever hired through an application at my front door or through a call-in asking me if I was hiring, okay? This is something that's really important. Expand your network, okay? Do this through people that you think are a really good influencer, like somebody in your area that you think you look up to. Reach out to them, schedule a coffee or grab a drink with them or do lunch, right? And then you can go out there, you can meet with them and you can tell them a little bit about yourself, but you're gonna go with an inquisitive mindset. You're gonna wanna know more about their company, right? And what they can do. And then you start to develop these relationships that can land you more jobs than anything else can. Listen, we live in a day and age where technology is the way to go, right? So you got all these different career finding websites that can get you the job, and you've got staffing companies. But I would tell you now that nothing will ever be more powerful than somebody you know and trust telling somebody that he knows and trusts that you are a great candidate for the position they're hiring for. Nothing will ever work out better than that. First impressions last a lifetime. That's something that is very important to know, especially when you're young. I'm 33, so when I say you guys are young, like you guys are quite a few years behind me, I'm sure. But the reality is your first impressions are gonna last a lifetime. So when you meet somebody, remember that just because you're not in an interview setting at that time doesn't mean that you don't need to have that same mindset in that meeting. You might be sitting in front of the person that's going to determine a job for you 10 years from now, or a promotion, or anything like that, and they will remember the day that you guys were at Wawa and you fought over a gas pump. I'm not saying you guys are fighting over gas pumps or somebody stepped on a shoe in a club. Like anything like that can leave an everlasting impression on somebody and change job opportunities later in life. I've seen it happen a dozen times. People have come to me that I used to work with 10, 15, 20 years ago that wanted a job now or wanted to do business just as a referral partner with my business, and I'll never send them business because I know I saw their values, I saw their work ethic before, okay? So expand your network. First impressions last a lifetime. Again, relationships. People are gonna, if you're an excellent team member at a certain company, right? Even if it's not the position that you're after, if you are phenomenal at that position and you're doing a great job, somebody else is gonna notice that and they're gonna come to you and say, hey, listen, are you truly happy where you are? And they're gonna say, hey, I have this opportunity over here. But they're not gonna do that for somebody who's performing in a mediocre capacity. So make sure that you give everything that you get, like any opportunity that you get, give it your all, because you don't know the door it might open for you somewhere else. You are only one relationship away from changing your future. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. Desire. Guys, listen to me. The only thing that is going to matter is how much you want it more than the next person. How many people do you think are going to be applying for the jobs that you guys are going for? Just you? I was about to say, I don't know what job that is. You probably don't want it if you're the only one applying for it. So the reality is if you are applying for a job, you have to find a way to show them that you want it more than the next person, okay? They want me to talk about filling out an application. They want me to talk about sending in a resume. They want me to talk about the typical processes. Let me tell you something. The very first job I got, I was a troublemaker when I was a kid. I had a very hard time getting a job. This is how I got my first job. I put on a suit that I borrowed from my cousin, okay? I got a haircut from a friend of mine, and I showed up to the place that I wanted a job at, and I said, I'm here for my interview. They said, well, we don't have an interview scheduled for you today. I'm like, well, I apologize, but I did. I scheduled my interview for 11 o'clock. Don't worry, I'll just have a seat and I'll wait. 45 minutes I waited. But guess what? I got the job. Now, they want me to tell you to follow the processes, but we're living in a day and age where it's different now. Like you can, I don't care how much it says you need this or you need that or you need this much work experience. If the person making the decision wants you over the person that has it, you're going to get the opportunity. I promise you that. Things are changing and the opportunities come to those who are willing to bust their you-know-whats for it, okay? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Guys, do you think I was comfortable putting on a suit and just showing up at this place unannounced? Like I wasn't even scheduled to be there. I put on a suit. I was uncomfortable. The suit didn't fit me. My cousin was 6'2" that I borrowed the suit from. I'm 5'9" on a good day. So my thing is, guys, I got uncomfortable for something I wanted. Do you want it bad enough to get uncomfortable? Do you want it that bad? Because if you do, then you can shine because the person next to you isn't going to want it that bad. Are you willing to go the extra mile? Here's the other thing, guys. Listen, when you're going to get a job because your bills are backed up and your rent's not paid for 2 months and you need a job because you're about to get evicted, not going to work. That desperation can be sniffed out just like this. But your desire is a different thing. The desire to want, that you want something that bad, that is sniffed out in a different way for a better reason. They will know the difference. Do not act out of desperation because you need a job. Put yourself in a position where you're working hard and you're leaving an impression that will get you the job that you want, not the job that you need. Last but not least, if you guys want to connect with me, these are my social media platforms. Feel free to snap a quick picture if you want to. I have a YouTube podcast. I have a podcast on Spotify. And we talk about these kind of things all the time. I'd love to connect with you guys through these platforms as well. I think that is all that I have for you guys. So pretty quick and easy. Perfect. All right, perfect. I'm not too good at the timing thing. So, I got 2 minutes to spare? Oh, do you guys have any questions? Can I do a couple questions real quick? Okay. Okay. So I got 7 minutes now. Man, I could do math and everything. All right, cool. All right, so we talked a little bit about like what I did. I'm telling you, getting in that suit, becoming uncomfortable, going in there, showing up unannounced. That's not the normal way to get hired, right? But it worked for me. It changed my life. Today, I own a business, but here's the crazy thing. I went back when they asked me to do this talk. I looked at all the jobs I ever applied for, right? Out of all the jobs I ever applied for, the jobs that I got interviewed for, I was offered the job every single time. There was never a time that I applied for a job and got the interview where I wasn't offered the job. So you guys, from that, I want you guys to understand that this is a game of sales. Like everything, guys, when you're talking to a girl, right? That's sales, right? You're selling yourself on them. You're saying, hey, listen, this is me. I want you guys to accept me. That's the same thing. Anytime you're having a conversation with anybody about anything, if you're saying, hey, listen, I want to go grab something to eat, let's grab Domino's, or let's go over here to Burger King. Every conversation that you're having with either your friend or whoever is a game of sales. So you have to remember that in that situation, you are selling yourself, okay? And you have to make sure that you're leaving that impression on them that they're never going to forget. Sales. It's the name of the game. So what do you guys think? What's your thoughts? What do you think are challenges that you guys are going to have as you go to get jobs?
Me personally, rejection. I guess that kind of goes into like being confident when you go into like an interview or something. But I guess how did you handle rejection? Well, I guess you just said that.
Well, no, great question. Because listen, not every girl I said was cute went out with me, right? So that's the same thing, right? So you got to understand how to handle rejection because it comes with it. Now, I was very fortunate because one of the very first jobs I got, I was knocking on doors, selling stuff door to door, right? You know how many no's I got then? You know how much rejection I got then? Man, I had a gun pulled on me, a dog bit one of the people I was working with, like all kinds of rejection. But you got to remember that it's not personal. This isn't an attack on you. And so that part of it matched with a complete and utter lack of entitlement. Like there's nothing being given to us that we're not going to go out and earn. okay? And once you understand that part of it, that if it's to be, it's up to you. The saying is, if it's to be, it's up to me. Once you understand that, like, nothing anybody says to you will ever impact you negatively because you believe in yourself. That confidence comes from a complete lack of giving a shit about what other people think about you. Like, I can tell you right now, like, no offense to you guys, like, I'm very happy to be in front of you, but I really don't care what you think about me. Because at the end of the day, like, I love myself that much that I can walk into a place with a suit on that doesn't fit and I can say, hey, I'm here for my interview. I don't care that they're going to tell me no, because guess what? There's another person behind them. And you know what? I truly believe this too. I truly believe that things happen for reasons. So if they say no, they're probably saving you from heartbreak. They're probably saving you from a lifetime of working for somebody that you didn't want to work for in the first place. But that also means that you got to keep grinding. Could you imagine that the first no, if the first no that you were ever told stopped any other opportunity at that? Like, does either one of you guys play sports at all? Anybody play sports? You play sports? All right. So the very first time you walk and talk to a coach and a coach says, no, you can't play. What, are you never going to play that sport again? Imagine if we did that to ourselves. So don't do that to yourself in the career field. If somebody tells you no, you got to keep grinding. Because listen, if we want to make excuses, we will. We will. Those excuses are there. We can make up, how quickly, like how many times have you guys canceled plans with somebody? Like quickly, within a second, you thought of 300 excuses you could have made in a second that says, hey, I'm sick, I'm late, I got a flat tire, my car's having trouble, my brother just got, whatever, right? You can come up with all those excuses that quick. Well, why can't you come up with one reason to do it? One reason, that's all you need, is to get up off your butt and go do what you got to do. We can come up with a million excuses at the snap of a finger. All we need is one reason to keep grinding. Somebody's going to tell you no. Count on it. Expect it. Plan for it. And then when they do, move on and go to the next one. Move on and go to the next one. When I was knocking on doors, right, gun gets pulled on me, man, most people be like, listen, I'm out of here. Like, I don't know what's going on here. No, I'm like, all right, next door is going to be a nice person that's going to talk to me and we're going to do some business together. Because if I let that rejection stop me, then what kind of message am I sending to people that are looking up to me? What kind of message am I sending to myself? Are you telling yourself that you love yourself? If you're willing to take that first no and walk away and go hide under a rock? I love myself too much for that. Sorry, did I answer your question? I get passionate about this stuff. Does anybody have any other questions though? No? Oh, my man right here.
Is there like any how do you say, is there like anything that you shouldn't do if you wanted to be like, if you wanted to get a job, like get an interview and stuff?
Sure. In fact, when I put that suit on to get my first job, I ended up becoming a manager there and I ended up hiring people, right, and conducting the interviews. Well, I went from putting a suit on, walking in unannounced to get a job, and then hiring people that showed up with their hats to the side, pants off their butts, shirts hanging out. Like, what? You mean to tell me I was willing to put on a daggone suit and show up here unannounced and you won't even dress the part for an interview that you had scheduled? So of course, there's tons of things that we could do. And again, like I said, first impressions, man, that's the big thing. You never know who on the other end of that interaction might impact your life later on. That's this, man, it's bitter. It's not bitter for the person on the other end. The other end, that guy's like, oh, I remember you. You flicked me off in traffic this morning because I stopped for some old lady that was getting out of her car. I'm not hiring you because you flicked me off. You might have been the most skilled candidate out of everybody he's going to talk to. But listen, I got road rage too, so I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I might have shut a few doors on myself. But understand that. Conduct yourself in that way. You don't know who's going to impact your life. You might be at a party, right? And again, like I said earlier, somebody steps on your sneaks. Like, understand that that person could impact your life later. And conduct yourself with kindness because that person could have that impression on you. And I'm going to leave you guys with this, man, because it's a very, very current thing, right? I was watching a video the other day, and Kobe was talking about how, like, he wasn't the fastest. He didn't have the best vertical. He wasn't the tallest guy on the court. He wasn't the most explosive player. He didn't have the biggest hands. He knew this about himself. The self-awareness was at an all-time high. He knew he wasn't the biggest, tallest, fastest, quickest, biggest hand-having player in the league. But he said, I'm going to dedicate 100% of my energy and attention and effort into mastering what I can be great at with this basketball. And that's what led him to the career that he had. Guys,